Welcome everybody to the Amplitude office. We're super excited to host you all today. Hope you enjoyed some pizza, some drinks. Happy SF Tech Week. There's a lot going on. I don't know if you have an intro spiel. Sorry, Allie.
No, I love that. That was perfect. Yeah, exactly. We're in your house, so we do your rules. Shoes off. So hi everyone. Welcome to this event by Amplitude, Flexxi, and Webflow. We are so excited to be kicking off SF Tech Week, and we're so grateful that you guys, that everyone, guys and gals, and everyone have come to this event to really talk and dig deep into a topic that a lot of us are very curious about. Can I get a raise of hands just to understand the crowd to see who here is a product designer? Awesome. Who here is a web designer? Or manages websites, owns websites maybe? Awesome. Okay, a lot of people. Who here is an engineer? Front end, back end, full stack, vibe coding? Amazing. PMs? Any PMs in the crowd? Okay.
We love our
Anything
PMs.
Yeah. Founder. Wow, a lot of people. That's awesome. Who here uses Amplitude?
What's up in the front?
Awesome. Webflow?
Oh, me too.
Anything else I'm missing? Framer? Totally. Custom code? Any other platforms? Okay, cool.
Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver. WordPress. No, I'm kidding. Haven't used that in a while. Okay, cool. So my name is Ali Vogel. I'm the founder of Flexxi Design. Flexxi is a product design studio and creative house. We do a lot of product design. We work with Amplitude. We build a lot of websites. We build on Webflow. And we are all interested in a lot of the same topics here today, which is what brought us in the room. But before we dive in deep, I would love the other panelists to introduce themselves. So, Will, go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Will Newton. I work at Amplitude. I've been here for about 5.5 years. I've had the, luck to work on a bunch of our AI stuff. And it's been really interesting watching it evolve over the past few years, especially right now, because everything's changing so fast. So really exciting time. So excited to get to dig in with y'all. And P.S., we are hiring at Amplitude. I'm going to say that a few times. So, but yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
Nice. Hey, wonderful humans. I'm Kyle Lambert. I'm a product designer at Webflow. Like Will, I've been at Webflow for an eternity in tech, which is like 6 years. Bananas. But yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work on a lot of our AI tools at Webflow, and right now working within our develop pillar, so building tools for developers in Webflow. So we'll get into that tonight, but super excited to chat with all of you about nerdy AI stuff.
Perfect. So just to kick us off here, I was working at Booking.com when we started a machine learning development center, and we were doing a lot of machine learning for personalization. That was my first time really touching AI and seeing the capabilities in terms of personalization. That was 2017 to 2019, but things have evolved a lot since then. And I wanted to ask the panelists, so Will, what was your first exposure to AI or some form of AI? And how has that transformed and evolved into the role you have today at Amplitude?
Great question. So I think everyone had their ChatGPT moment, right? Which is different than the first exposure of AI ever. The first exposure of AI that was meaningful was when I just joined Amplitude. We were working on this feature called Journeys, which helps you figure out what happens between point A and point B. What are my users doing? Map it all out for me. And there's this technology called process mining, which was a machine learning technique. And basically, it looks at all the data and maps out the relationship between them, looks at it all in every which way, and then creates a visual representation of that, like a literal map. And I thought that was the coolest thing, and it blew my mind. I'm like, I cannot believe that that's possible. But then the ChatGPT moment was like, the underlying technology is a lot of the same stuff. It's just the inputs are completely different. So when I asked ChatGPT to write code for me for the first time, that was like mouth floor drop. Like I was completely blown away. So I think those are my two memorable light bulb moments.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was thinking about back to like previous roles, which was like before AI was even AI, machine learning, the whole chatbot automation thing that happened in like 2016. I was working for a chat support company building, yeah, chatbots there, which was really interesting to come full circle to where we are today. And I think for me, it was just like watching our one of our principal designers was starting to build these Chrome extensions, and he was just like putting these Chrome extensions on top of our production product to like create like collaboration experiences and like mimic behaviors, and it was just like, whoa. And so I think for me, that ChatGPT moment was a Sunday afternoon. I built like a Figma plugin and submitted it to the community in, I don't know, 2 hours, and it got like 1,000 downloads within the first week. I was like, this is incredible. And so, yeah, it was definitely like a wow moment.
That's awesome. Yeah, for me, I was writing my thesis. I did my master's degree in human-computer interaction with actually an emphasis in generative AI while I was working at Microsoft back in 2020. And we were doing a lot of text to image. And at the time, you could really only do a lot of abstraction. So it's wild to see what we can do today. And I used ChatGPT to help me write and finish my thesis in 2020. And I'm like, no one's gonna catch me. I'm the only one that knows about this. Anyway, I did graduate, by the way. But it's just amazing to see how things have evolved so much since then. So moving forward and talking about what you're up to today. So Will, would love to hear about what you're currently building at Amplitude and what you guys are focused on as a company and a design organization.
All right, so high level, the golden egg that everybody's always wanted is ask a question about your data, get an answer. Natural language processing, analyze my data for me. Not a new idea, right? But now it's not only possible, but like expected. And so we've been working on different AI things for a long time at Amplitude, but really the ability for us to deliver on some of this stuff that people really want and need. Like, I'm a business user, I don't know my taxonomy, I don't know even what questions I should necessarily ask, I just have this ad hoc question. I don't want to have to learn a new tool. That type of stuff we're able to deliver on in a really great way right now. So we're working on that. That's the high level idea, but we're doing a few specific ways of doing it. So we have an MCP server coming out very soon that lets you do anything you want via Claude, OpenAI, whatever. Developers, you can build your own tools. You can do all sorts of great stuff, accessing Amplitude through AI. Really powerful and amazing to watch that cook coming in a few weeks. Then there's Amplitude AI agents, where we're building out sort of automation of complete workflows. We've done a number of announcements about this, but it's really kind of coming to fruition now, and we're gonna let everyone in just a few more weeks. And then the last thing that we're working on is, I don't know, like, can I say this? I can say this, yeah, sure. So it's kind
Tyler,
of like—
can you say it? Tyler?
Say it. Tyler left, I can say it. Okay. So
Yes.
we're basically just
Boss
building
is
out
left.
a generalist agent, right? So the Amplitude AI agents that we announced earlier this year are specialist agents. They do one workflow end to end. They do make these complex end-to-end processes automated. But what we're doing also is we're having like an orchestration layer agent that can do anything. So basically letting you do anything in Amplitude that you want with natural language. So these three things are kind of interconnected in that MCP is kind of like the layer that powers both of those things. And so AI native Amplitude kind of natural language to interact with your data and do anything that you want and take action on it, that's kind of the vision that we're driving towards. And there's a number of initiatives that are happening at the same time, which build up to that future.
Awesome, thanks. And what about you, Kyle? What are you guys currently building at Webflow?
Yeah, so I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So if you don't know, Webflow is a website experience platform. And so we build a bunch of different tools, and we have a large platform to support the ability to build websites in like a no-code manner. We have an optimization layer on top of that where you can run A/B tests with AI directly. You have the ability to analyze that data directly in Webflow with Analyze tool, which we just launched last year. And we have like a really powerful CMS platform. And so we're kind of coming, I guess, like getting a little bit more mature with our AI this year. And so the last couple years, it's like we're kind of in this world with PR-driven development, right? It's just like AI's coming out, companies are like, we're gonna build all these things. And product teams are like, what? We're all freaking out about it. And so like our first attempts were cute. And they're a little underpowered. They were cool from a perspective of like, wow, that's cool, but like from a customer value perspective, it wasn't really impactful. And so we're now just like coming in this year, like really building up momentum and like seeing the real power of different tools we're building. So I think like our AI optimizations tools like a really important one where it's like, okay, companies are like starting to run optimizations and like putting in AI experiments and realizing, oh, I can spin up 50 experiments in minutes and then get the results. And so what we have found is like we have all these different verticals within our platform that we're really trying to rethink AI from the ground up, where we have to have a foundational layer that's horizontal from a platform perspective. So our different teams building AI features aren't working in silos. And so our product's like really kind of like starting to reimagine what that looks like from a customer experience angle, what that looks like from a product development angle. But yeah, like in my world, we're about to launch our app gen, which is like a lovable kind of competitor onto Webflow, and we have like our code components editor, which is like you can just like generate a native like Webflow component within code and just build it like you would a marketer, just drag and drop. So a lot of things happening. It's just tons of coordination under the scenes right now.
Awesome. I'm just curious from the audience, how many people here are building web-based products, either web apps or websites? Wow, like almost every single person here. Awesome. So one of the big things that we've seen is how AI is evolving the web. And I know this is super relevant for Webflow, super relevant for Amplitude that runs on top of websites. We definitely use Amplitude on our website. Thank you very much, Will. Helps a lot. But we've seen how AI can really impact a huge topic that people are starting to think about now, which is not SEO, but AEO. So answer engine optimization. So I'm curious to hear from Kyle. You know, you are deep in tooling, both internally on the Webflow side for developers, building those AI capabilities. What are some tangible recommendations that you can make, either whether it be tools, whether it be just general knowledge, to help all of the designers, PMs, engineers in the audience to really optimize their websites, optimize their web-based products? What secrets can you tell us?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot here. Well, we're in this like inflection point, right, with SEO. And so I know many of you are managing website properties, and you've probably seen a pretty severe plummet in SEO traffic to your sites. And so I think the first layer that we've been talking a lot about internally is just like that keywords layer. That's your like entry point of like, I have keywords on my site. That's great. The next layer is just like you have to think about is like authority. And so like what's happening with your responses outside of your website? Because I think for a long time, people were just coming to your website for answers. we're in a world now where people aren't going to your website for answers. And so you need to consider like, how is my brand showing up in these other worlds, in the Chat GPT, in the Claude world, where I'm just searching for things. So really building context, not just on your own platform, but in sites like YouTube, in Reddit. So there's an authority layer, and then there's like a technical layer there with schema. So like most websites we look at, like there's a recent study that was saying like 70% of sites don't have like smart schema generated for your site. So like people aren't like setting up their sites to be like understood by one, just search agents, but like then just like AI agents. So it's like we're really moving to this world where you're having to set up your website to answer people's questions. And so what we're seeing for us is like a big transition to websites starting to answer questions on their sites, setting up their schemas for those questions to be answered. So when somebody prompts like in ChatGPT, you can show up and be like an authoritative website in that world. And so we're constantly evolving and thinking about how we can do that and what's the next level. And like our strategy is shifting very much to helping support our customers kind of navigate this new landscape. And I think that's one of the fun things we're trying to figure out on the AI front of like how we can show up as a product team to like really deliver value and help people, you know, create authoritative websites, show up in their digital experiences beyond their just brochure site to really have an impactful brand. And like, what does it mean to like have a brand nowadays is a big one. It's like when your brand is vetted through ChatGPT and Claude and all these other tools.
That's really interesting. Do you mind if I like ask
Yeah,
a
go
follow-up
for
question
it.
on
Go
that?
for it.
So when you say like schema and like authority, like you're talking about like content design on the site. So like content pages when you're talking about the thing, and like product pages, or you know, just more detail that's able to be read and scraped.
Yeah. So essentially, like schema, it's like you have like a code layer on your website that is purely for like search engines,
Like
AI
LLM
products,
text.
LLM text to like understand. It's like, this is the content for you. This is how you should digest it. This is how you should display it. So it'll show up properly and then get prioritized in that order.
The thing I thought was interesting as you asked the question was, especially in the past few months with GPT-5, it seems to use the search tool way more. And it's like, well, what is it searching? Is it searching Google? Is it just like a truncated Google? And then I know Google was slow with their AI mode, but now they have it, and it's pretty good. It's just like they're being gentle with it, right? So it's interesting how it maybe is swinging back to like using search, even though it's not like the pure model just suggesting stuff like that's outside the cutoff window, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big shift. So I don't know if you all saw like any of the Dev Day stuff today that was released. Is like there's a lot of in-app stuff with ChatGPT. So it's like they have like a SDK where you can have apps in that, and that's going to totally like blow that whole situation up. Where it's like, okay, now I'm going to be able to search for products or search for answers, and now as a company, I'm going to be able to create my own app within ChatGPT to answer these people's questions in a much more fluid, on-brand way that can like point people to your website or allow people to just recognize you as an authoritative, professional like brand.
Cool. One thing that I've seen with one client in particular, who shall not be named, we as designers, as PMs, as engineers are feeling a lot of pressure, correct? Pressure to output because we have AI that's really helping us through the creative process, helping us through the engineering process, product specs, et cetera. And something I've seen on marketing teams is, you know, a CEO saying, hey, just write tons of blogs, put it into ChatGPT and write tons of blogs and just get content out there. And for a little while, you laugh, but we didn't know better. You know, we weren't managing it, it was the marketing teams. And what we've come to learn is that it does not work. It does not work in terms of answer engine optimization. And so now the real question is, okay, we have AI that's helping us, but how as designers, how as engineers, how as marketers, are we able to use this as a co-pilot and not use this as an instead of, because actually the data is showing we're not getting the results, and that's really important in communicating to leadership. Like, we can do this, but ultimately it's a waste of time because it's not helping us, build the products correctly. A lot of things are off-brand, marketing-wise. It's not showing up in these answer engines. So I'm curious, both of your companies are going through transformations. I think most of our companies are. What has been one of the most dangerous misconceptions you've seen about the way that we use AI, and how do you mitigate that in your day-to-day?
Dangerous misconceptions.
Dangerous misconceptions.
You got this
I
one
said
right
we
down.
would go deep. I said we would go deep. So here
So
we're
I
getting
think
deep.
the thing that grinds my gears the most is when people who are people who are not on the ground, people who are not doing the work, they think, oh, it's just like, yeah, you can like do everything that you did before faster. And it's just like an efficiency thing. It's like, oh yeah, you will like just have AI write the code or have AI do the design or whatever. Like ask AI the research questions, just like get it done so we can go faster. And that, as a craftsperson, like that's not what this is about at all. It's actually the opposite. Is we can make things so much better and we can do so much more ambitious things that were not possible before. It's not about doing what we used to do faster. That is a losing game. And the entire floor has been raised in terms of expectations because you have this like 1% of companies and products like at the tip of the spear just making things so good, and that's the quality bar. And so you can't get away with shipping something kind of half-assed anymore just to see what happens. Like, no, people expect things to be good. They expect things to work. They expect things to feel smooth, like consumer grade. And so, yeah, especially in like B2B, it's like years ago, there's this ethos of like, yeah, ship fast and like, iterate. Ship fast and iterate is still the thing. It's just there's a higher quality bar and you have to be much more intentional. And as a designer, it feels like explore the solution space really rapidly, figure out what direction you want to go, and then go there really fast. But then you do it through iterations, and then you can make it better and better and better. And it's just a race to make things as good as you can, as fast as you can, which is why the pressure thing, right? So it's like, no one's like, oh, I did all my work in 5 minutes, and now I'm just going to play with my kid for the rest of the day. Unfortunately, that is not what seems to be happening. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Better, not only faster, but faster and better.
Yeah, I love that. And just to emphasize what you said about the craft, I think now more than ever, especially running a studio where craft and speed have always been so important, but the bar for craft is so high and shall continue to be raised. That's just a given. And also to add on what you said, though you didn't explicitly say it, is principles of design. A lot of people think now that they are designers, developers, PMs, marketers because they can use AI. And though AI is great, the principles still remain as true as ever. So my advice to my team, and especially when we're hiring, is hiring people with great foundations, because they are going to be able to utilize AI as that co-pilot to really raise the bar and craft and not replace that level of craft. Kyle.
Yeah, that just resonates so true. I don't think we've seen our team just race to output quickly in a sense of like, oh, we like trimmed like 6 months off our design process. What we have seen is like one of my teammates back there, hey Jeff, Jeff has just been crushing it with the prototypes he's been able to create with our tool set. And it's just like the level of what we're able to do is just so much deeper and wider, and the breadth is bigger. And so it's like we're cutting down engineering timelines, because it's like we're not going back and forth on end cycles. It's more like, here's the breadth of what we want to build. And so getting buy-in is a whole lot easier. So it is kind of like cutting some things down, but we're just able to go to such deeper levels when it comes to craft and communicating those ideas. I think on the product side of things, the thing we've found is just like these LLMs are really powerful, but they are not good at everything. And it's like we've kind of stumbled and made a whole bunch of missteps on being like, oh, this LLM is going to solve this for me. And then we put it out there and we're like, this sucks. This is like not good. And it'll stumble and trip over things that you as a user just like assume because everything's so magical that it should be able to do. And so I think for us, it's like a big thing that we've had to curb for designers building AI at Webflow is like really understanding the limitations of what AI can and can't do, and really having to like kind of evaluate it. And so it's like one of the design processes we've gone through is just like evaluating what this output is, and like having like design not and just own that, but like be a part of that process and being like, what does this mean for our experience? Because without that, then we'll just like ship something that it's like, cool, this does a thing, but it's not doing the thing.
Awesome. So there's a lot of talk in the industry about really two different work streams. There's designing for AI. So what does it actually mean to build an AI-centric product? What does it really mean to build an AI-native product? And then there's the designing with AI, which is what's the workflow? What are the tools? How are we utilizing this? I know at Flexxi, this is something we deal with all the time because we have a specific consultancy, Flexxi AI, that just deals with designing for AI native products, but we also have a creative studio and we build a ton of websites. So we're always using AI in our workflows as tools. So I'm curious to hear from both of you, in your respective teams, what are some of the principles, if you can call it that you share as a team around designing for AI native products? And how do you design with AI? So what are the workflows, what are the tools that you see in your day-to-day?
That's like a 6-part question.
Six parts.
1A. So 1A, principles for AI design. So does everyone know what is backwards? I remember I was talking to a seasoned design leader at one point, and she asked me, how does AI change the design process? And this was like 7 or 8 months ago at this time. And I didn't have a really crisp answer at that time. But if I could go back in time and say now, what I would say is it's traditional design process. You start with the user problems, and then you figure out what's the crux of the problem, and then you explore solutions to that problem. With designing for AI, it's actually backwards. And yeah, you still need to solve for user problems, but you have to start with what are the capabilities that exist and understanding what they do, and then you reverse map them to problems that are valuable. And there was a study in Carnegie Mellon on the East Coast. Those folks proved via research that designers came up with, they did a test, an experiment where they had half the people start with the problem and then explore solutions, and half the people start with the capabilities and then reverse back into problems. The group that started with capabilities consistently came up with better, higher ROI things that were more within reason to actually do. And the group that started with problems, they tended to edge towards stuff that was kind of on the edge of impossible, or like wasn't actually able to get done, or kind of didn't really fit. And the reason why that's so important is because the capabilities change so fast and it's so unexpected. You need to know what the thing does. The materials of LLMs, it's new and it's changing all the time. And so you have to kind of like stay abreast of what can this thing do? And then you back into how can I use this to make something 10 times better for people today? So starting with the capabilities, making things way better for people. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'll probably save for you to get into around, like don't make it a black box, make sure you don't cause harm to people. There's like a bunch of like expected stuff, but like the things that were unexpected to me were starting with the capabilities and then backing into something that is really helpful. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but it's useful to think of it that way.
Yeah, that was really good. That was much better articulated than what I was trying to communicate in my previous point with like what LLMs can do, because it is like, you know, it's like it's that exact thing. It's like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and that's where I think we made our first stumbling, you know, in the last couple years, where we stumbled as like a traditional product design org of like this is first principles where you start. I think like, you know, for the context of like Webflow and what we're thinking about too, it's we're in an interesting space too, where it's like we are thinking about, you know, there's I guess like product principles we could go into, but I think for us there's some more like nuanced ones of like thinking about like AI as a collaborator is a big one, and we don't want to replace designers, like we don't want to replace people, but we want to help. Whatever tool we build, we want to make it scalable. So we want to help scale teams out. We want to be able to scale out your brand system, not just your website. And so that's a big one. It's like, how do we help people collaborate and do more, and provide more governance layers on top of what they're already doing? Yeah, so we could get into the like, you know, don't start with a blank slate and all that stuff, but I'm not sure that that's super interesting.
Adaptive or what is it? Anticipatory design. There's
Yeah.
I mean, the classic stuff is still classic, right? Is like, what are humans trying to do? What does someone like what are they trying to do in their life, in their job, whatever? And then where can these AI capabilities eliminate a step, accelerate a step, reduce the floor so people who could not do it, now they can do it for the first time, right? So there's these different like ways. I don't know if Tyler is in the audience anymore, but enable, there you are. Enable, accelerate, or eliminate. It's like, what are you trying to do? And how are you using the capability to help a human? You're making it so that people can answer their questions about their data for the first time because they don't know what question to ask? Are you making it so it's faster for someone to explore all of their thousands of possibilities and pick out that needle in a haystack? Or are you completely removing the need to do something because AI just does it for you, right? So there's different ways that you can help people, and then knowing what the capabilities are is very important. It's like classification of text, generation of text, identification of images. There's like things that AI can do, and so knowing those two things helps you create like a map, and then you can just pick out the things that make the most sense for you.
Yeah, awesome.
That was 1A.
Then we'll get to part B. I wanted to just add on that because we have a number of clients that use Amplitude in their product, and one of the really interesting things I've seen is that I see more and more designers starting to ask those research questions and starting to test. And when I was at Booking.com, we had roughly 1,000 experiments running on the site at any given time. It's probably still the case, but like much more amplified. And that was an expectation of designers, but that was unique back then. Today, in the world that we are, the ability to just design, as we know, is not enough. We also have to be able to ask the product and business related questions, and having tools to be able to help us with that is really helpful. And I see that in the day-to-day of some of the designers I mentor for the companies that we work with. So to be able to have that even more streamlined, more conversational, it's going to be a game changer in the way that designers actually relate to the business and relate to leadership in terms of really solving those user problems. So it's super cool to think and to see that Amplitude is moving in that direction. Part B. Now, we talked about designing for AI 2.0. What do you use in your workflow when it comes to designing with AI? What are some of the tangible things that the audience can take away, some of your secret sauce?
I'll go. So we have like a working group, a product design prototyping working group at Webflow, and so what we've done is we use Cursor as our primary design tool. Anybody use Cursor?
Hands for Cursor.
Got some Cursor. Yes.
Hey.
So we're big fans of Figma's MCP server to, cursor workflow. So what we've done is we've spun up like a prototyping repo. And so this is like a templatized repo. And so this has been like a key to enablement on our team. Because like what we saw before was like when you have to spin up something from scratch every time, whether it's a Figma document, whether it's anything, like people just aren't going to take the time to do it, and they view that as a massive hurdle. And so once we started building up adoption of like a core group of us, starting to build this prototyping repo and get it to a state where you could spin off something pretty quick from it, it worked super well. And so, yeah, that's our workflow. We just have this repo that we keep adding to, and designers are able to branch off of it, and then we deploy it to Webflow Cloud, which is just a way for us to deploy cloud apps directly to our site. So, yeah, we're trying to embrace Make. There's a big ask to embrace Figma Make from it's easier to use. We haven't figured out how to make it work good.
Say more about that, because
Help.
I'm super curious about that, because I think there's a question, right, when you're talking about prototyping. So what are you prototyping?
Yeah,
Is it about creating the gist, or is it
this is good. So this is I think where we've found more success with Make, and we're starting to find, is micro interactions. Yeah. So if I am trying to spin up something to communicate to my design team, we had a good prototype going around our design team the other week, which was a selection-based system, which is we're not seeing the whole prototype. It's a micro interaction. It's easy to spin up that. It's hard to spin up a vision prototype with it. And I think the team is, I know Figma's working on this. They care deeply about this, but I think there's kind of a frustration when you're just okay, if I can cursor, grab something in cursor, copy and paste it into cursor, and the output is better than if I do that in Figma. It's kind of a, what am I doing here moment. But Make is really powerful for micro interactions. And if you haven't figured out Figma Make, let's talk, because we really want to bring this, enablement is such a big piece of getting AI workflows into an org. And so we're trying to lower the bar as much as possible for people.
On that point, that's so true, is friction to the thing working. That's the main problem. So as a early adopter human being who doesn't care how hard it is, I will struggle through whatever. I'm hesitant to recommend any tools to anybody because I abuse myself with the stuff I try. But I think that there's two, it depends, right, on how do you use AI tools to accelerate your design workflow. It depends on you can use different things in all the places in all the ways. And the thing I find myself using more than I expected is just ChatGPT to use for specific situations. And so I know it's I think we're not supposed to say ChatGPT, but screenshot, roast this design. Think about, core design principles and laws of UX. Tell me how to make this better. Go do something else, get a coffee, come back. Instant mini design crit, right? Little things like that. Writing a strategy document, poke holes in this, figure out how, there's these two strategy documents. Help me find a through line. How do I, brainstorm 10 ways to improve this interaction? This is what's going on. Just little things like that are super good. It's like a rubber ducky, kind of ask someone, what do you think about this? And just by saying that, you think of something. It's just nice to have a sounding board. So I do that all the time. But then coding tools, I feel I like Bolt, I like Figma Make, I like Cursor. We spun up a fake repository of, I call it Baby Amp. It's kind of just if we could just redo everything, what would it be? And it's just super slick navigation, everything's all perfect, global chat everywhere, all this crazy stuff. But it's just kind of what we're trying to move towards is a world where designers are actually shipping to production. So the most fun thing that I started doing recently is Cursor, but in Slack. So at Cursor, hey, fix this bug, screenshot red arrow, where it's like, this needs to be that instead. Cursor goes, makes a branch, and then I can just open it in GitHub and look at the test branch, which is, we're turning heads doing this. People are like, how are you doing that? Like, what's, it's like,
You shipped it?
oh yeah. So yeah, shipping things little by little. It's completely different because you're like super in the weeds, right? We're talking like, oh, product design at a high level. We're supposed to be visioning of the future, talking about big things. You're not fixing bugs in production, but that's how you make things good.
But why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the word, like the amount of time you spend like cycles screenshotting something to an engineer to be like, I'm going to create a ticket for you to get to in your backlog of things you don't care about.
Or I can do it right now.
Yeah.
And you can see me do it right now, and then you'll wonder why you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
So on that topic of automation, scalability, something that my team has been thinking about for many months now is scaling design systems with AI. So several years ago, the trend of really building robust design systems inside of, well, there was Sketch, but now Figma, and how to actually make sure that everyone or almost everyone is aligned on what the standards are and how we can build faster. But now that AI can spit out, so to speak, components and code, how do we make sure that we are able to scale design systems effectively? I can tell you tangibly, one of the things we've started to do with some clients is actually help them build their design system so that when we get to the point, which we are quite close to being able to create more scalable design systems with AI, that there is a lot of cohesiveness across the products and the systems. And I've seen more and more larger enterprises really requesting this because they understand how this will really enable their teams to ship better, faster, higher craft products. How are you thinking about that at Amplitude and at Webflow, if at all?
I'm not the right person to ask this because I have a hot take about design systems, possibly controversial, possibly spicy.
Do it.
Yeah, I love controversial takes,
So
so
I think
let's go.
what we've been trained to think design system was like a relic of tech 2.0. And so now in AI tech world, which we're all making up right now together, it's brand new, things can be very different. So like what is an AI friendly design system or AI enabled design system? I don't think we know, but it's something closer to open source, closer to open source libraries stacked on top of each other rather than like some bespoke custom thing. Because when AI is writing a lot of the code, it needs to know how to write it. And so when your design system's built on like, oh, it's Tailwind and Radix and then our colors, like it knows how to write code. And so then you don't need all these rules about the padding and stuff. It just does a good job because it's in the latent space. So that's, I don't know. I think that design systems are incredibly important, but it's like maybe it's time for a rebrand. Maybe it's a pattern library. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just your styles. I don't know. But I think, yeah, it's not what it used to be.
This is the really interesting topic because we're currently trying to figure out what that means at Webflow, because it's like we have a traditional website builder, right? And it builds with proprietary software. Like we have like an internal system that's building out our components and how things are being built and how people like edit in a manual way, which I don't think is completely going away. It's done one way, and then we have an app gen product, which is going to be, open source. You're dealing with ShadCN and Tailwind, and it's like, how do we make these? How do we map a world where these two connect in the future? And I think that's like really the interesting space we're at and struggling. Like, as are a lot of teams and systems. It's like, okay, what does this mean for design systems moving forward? And it kind of, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. It's like one of those things where it's like AI is great, but it's like dependent on these like open source, like, okay, like love it or hate it, tailwind is the way of the world. Does that lock out innovation on some level? Like, does that dictate how sites are being built? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it's an interesting moment.
Do folks remember Bootstrap when there were like a few years where all websites looked exactly the same with those stupid round icons?
All
Like
the web people know what we're
yeah.
talking about.
So it's definitely just everything's being kind of like, it's new again, right? It's like, everything is going to change really fast and then all of a sudden be everything the same and then everything's going to be different. And it's a transformation that's happening. But design systems, like in air quotes, like it's never been more important when you're figuring out how to build AI stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's important to have well-crafted things, and thinking about it systemically is like the way to do that from first principles. There's just a lot of existing tools that can be leveraged, and I think like, yeah, it feels like if I were starting from scratch, I don't know if the first thing I would make is a design system, maybe a pattern library. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's super hot take. Sorry.
To your point, I want to add on to what you said, because that is something that we've seen a lot, is building on top of these existing design systems. ChatCN is a great example of that. We've had clients building platforms from scratch that have specifically said, hey, I want to build on top of this design system. But of course, that just gives you the bare bones. You also have to align it to your brand and to your use cases and all of that. So I think that is where having a, let's call it, semi-custom or custom design system makes sense, depending on how you want to define it. And then as we're training these LLMs to understand and really learn what it means to be a successful component in our system, the more alignment we have, the better we're able to train, the better we're able to output. And as the CEOs love, the faster and higher quality we're able to ship, especially from the dev side. So I think that that's something that I've definitely seen teams investing in. Okay, so we have time for one more topic, and then we're gonna move to Q&A. So I love your controversial takes, and I wanna expand upon that even more, because we're all friends here.
Design systems are good. Don't misunderstand me.
So
Post on LinkedIn tomorrow.
So personally, I've seen some really great designers, especially on the visual side, from my team even, feeling AI burnout. And I've actually seen people step away from the digital space entirely. I'll share it with the crowd, the audience. We actually had one amazing visual designer leave our team to become a professional DJ. And her take was like, hey, I know I'm a great designer, and she's done amazing stuff, but I actually want to move towards something a bit more handcrafted, and that is just not where, in her opinion, the product design industry is moving, or the visual design industry is moving. I've seen differences of opinions between people in the product design studio and in the visual studio, especially in the creative space. So I'm curious, from your perspective, from the designers on your team, from the interactions you've had with the different creative teams you work with, whether it be product or visual, what has been your experience with this and kind of getting a pulse check on how people are feeling internally, especially with all of this kind of top-down or bottom-up pressure? And what are some of the things that you do or your team does to mitigate this so that designers really feel empowered to be full partners and, co-pilots with these AI technologies that we're using?
I'll take a stab. So I alluded to earlier, we have enablement is like a massive issue internally, or something we're going after. We want to enable people to do this. And so we have builder days is what we call them. So at least once a quarter, we're setting aside like a whole work day to spend building with AI. And so that's like a prototype, whatever you're gonna build, like it is your day to like just go and explore and learn and ask questions and jump in to the deep end. We also have just channels where we're just like encouraging people to post their work constantly, like just like, hey, post your prototypes, ask your questions here, ask your AI solutions here. And I think the big thing it's like that I'm like telling people is just like spend 20 minutes a day doing something. Like start doing something. 20 minutes a day prototyping, 20 minutes a day interacting at least. But that like gives you a little bit of taste. But I think, you know, we're in this like weird moment technologically where it does, like a lot of people, this may not be for everyone. And I think we, like history tells us a lot about this. Like we can look back to like the last age this happened, I think about like computers and graphic design. If you look at back in the 80s, early 90s, when like computers were coming to be, there's a lot of traditional graphic designers who were used to like cutting up things with X-Acto knives that were just like, I loved this craft. This is not for me anymore. And I don't know that that's like a thing to fight like for everyone, because it may be just like if you don't have excitement around these tools, if you're not excited to build with them, like then this is like a really hard tidal wave to just ride out and just be like, I gotta do it. So yeah, I think there's like enablement to a point, but if there's not excitement and curiosity, I think there's only so much you can do with that. And then it's like the world is changing and sorry.
Yeah, I want to be careful with this one because it feels like it's really deeply personal and sensitive to a lot of people. Like you can imagine, I mean, I've had plenty of conversations with people who are like, well, I'm like worried about my job or like the future, all this stuff. Like, what do we do? Like, is AI going to take all our jobs? Like, I don't know, maybe some jobs will go away, maybe some jobs will change. But like the thing that makes me feel excited and optimistic is at the end of the day, like creating stuff is like one of the innate human desires, like creativity and making things and being helpful. And these AI tools, the AI wave that's happening it's just completely blown up all of the old structures of like what it means to do that. And it's kind of like a, tidal wave washing the sandcastles away, right? It's like, well, what now? What? Like everyone can just do whatever they want. Like, and so I don't know. I think it's useful to think about the opportunities that are created, and not focus on like my identity is being taken away. And it's easy to say that, but like a lot of folks, myself included, I've been doing design for a long time. You build up like a mental model of like, this is me, this is my job, this is my role, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at. And then you see some kid crank out something way better than what you did with like some, 15 minutes and a Red Bull, and you're like, what? Like, what am I? Who am I? Like, what about my expertise? What about my years of my identity that I've built up in this thing that I do as my job? Like, what? And it's scary, but it's also, there's so much goodness and opportunity if you just try some stuff and see where it goes. And so the optimist in me is, like Kyle said, just 20 minutes a day, just play with the thing, figure out what it can do, figure out something that makes you excited to learn more. And it's a big new learning journey for all of us.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like have been pointing some designers to on our team who are struggling with it is like looking back on the last couple of years of like switching to Figma. It's like, okay, did you learn auto layout? Was that painful as hell? Like,
but it's better now, right?
but it's better. It's like it was super painful, and it's like prototyping with the same thing with Figma. It's like, oh, I gotta learn this new thing, and it's like such a pain. But then once you learn it, you kind of develop these muscles where it's like automatic. It's like, oh, this is easy now. It's that initial hurdle that I think for a lot of folks, it feels a lot bigger of a jump than what they've done previously. And so like just coaching, encouraging, like, let's do it. Let's figure out how to get you onboarded. Because like you said, there's so much anxiety like in the workplace around it.
It's real. But if you are excited about building AI or building with AI, remember at Amplitude, we are hiring.
Us too, Webflow.
Amazing. So we're gonna end this with a quick rapid fire question. Don't think too long. We'll start with you, Kyle. In 1 year, I'll know AI was worth the hype if.
A year is like 10 years in AI.
Exactly.
Oh man, if I can ship like a meaningful feature to production as a designer.
Worth the hype. Awesome. Will?
Oh man, I can't say that. That's a great answer. I don't know. I feel like it is already worth the hype. In 1 year, what can I imagine? It's like see the wave happening, and it's like we are on this wave. I'm trying to surf the wave. Got my board. I'm hanging 10. But I don't know. I don't think that it won't be worth it, except for maybe if a few things happen. Maybe that's a better question. What would make it not worth it? I don't know. I'm excited about the way things are going.
Amazing. So we're gonna open it up now for questions. So if we can have someone from facilities help to pass around a mic to the audience. We have about 5-10 minutes. So any burning questions from the crowd?
We got 2, 3.
Is this on?
Yeah.
I'm not from.
How do I get one of those?
I can't even talk. I'm not from facilities, but I am on the Amplitude team. This
Thank
is
you,
a
Colin.
soft microphone, so it won't hurt if it hits
Don't be
your
afraid.
head.
Just catch it.
But well, I'll just pass it to you.
Thank you. Very entertaining. William, you mentioned something about like how users sometimes don't know which questions to ask. And I've been thinking a lot about like chat interactions, right? And coming from a data company, like myself, I have a data AI company. And a lot of the times I'm like, they're not gonna know which questions to ask. It's like, it can be very powerful, but how do you guide them to the right questions, right? I don't know if you have thought the design process of how that's gonna evolve.
I can tell you what we're gonna do.
Yes, that would be super
So
useful.
I mean, it's and this is a data specific answer. So sorry, folks who don't work in data, but you know, context is everything, right? So it's like, what is the thing that you're working about or looking at and thinking about, asking about? And always also like numbers almost don't mean anything except in relationship to other numbers. And so there's kind of like a number of heuristics you could probably start with where it's like, if you're looking at one thing, well, what is this broken down by X? Well, what is X? Well, what are the most popular variables that they have, right? There's like a little decision tree you can kind of map out. So that's what we've done with Ask Amplitude, which is really helpful. But what we're thinking about trying to do next is something a little bit smarter where you do a little nano model loop where you can ask AI, given this context, what are some useful follow-up questions for this thing? Loop, and then it goes do, and then they're just right there, right? It needs the sound effects too. But yeah, you can break it down all the way there.
Awesome. Great tips.
Oh, I love this. People passing to people.
Thank
This
you.
is great.
Yeah, so actually, that was I had that question, but I'm going to follow up on that question as well. Just because you build it doesn't mean the customer will come, right? So I'm in the video search space. We do content moderation. So our ICPs, the e-commerce managers, and customer success. And something that we're struggling with, and as a CEO, I'm fighting with my designer is that we have 150 filters that you can select, right? The e-commerce manager is not going to remember the 150 filters to ask. So if there's a simple filter to select a start date and end date, why do we need a chat and agentic interface? So I'm curious, how are you dealing with this tension? The customer is not there yet. I mean, we all breathe here. The dev community in the Bay Area breathes Chat GPT and all that, but the rest of the world doesn't. They don't even know what prompt is, and I even have to train the e-commerce and customer success team members to know what to ask. So and I'm surprised like you guys haven't brought it up about the end user in your discussions, right? And that's the most important. I mean, if it doesn't matter what you build if no one is using your product, right? So how are you managing the tension between having all these filters? I'm like, no, we don't need a start date, and like we need to keep that filter because the customer doesn't know what to ask. So how do you balance that? The customer is not there yet. I think it's going to be another year, 2 years before the customer gets there. And so how are you translating your current product into agentic, or what's the process there? I'm curious.
So this goes back to one of the earlier things like around principles, right? It's like not everything needs to be AI just because it can, right?
Yeah,
Or just because you could, or because your board wants you to, or like, if you're the boss, then, you decide, right? But why should it be AI? Is it AI because it's 10 times better than it not being AI? And then how is it 10 times better? And what, like, as a part of what they're doing today, how does AI make it so much better than it was before AI that it's worth doing that and figuring out those problems? So there's like the tactical part of the question, which is like, you have suggested questions, you have suggested prompts, you use buttons and dials instead of an empty input. That's what UI affordances are for, right? It's like, to click on a button. Recognition over recall, you see a list of stuff. It's much easier to think than a blank canvas. But also, like, why does it have to be AI? Like, it sounds like you don't think it should be.
No, I'm fighting that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be. And, using an input box is one way for it to be AI. There's other ways.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like everything we're doing right now is typically in layers. There's some products that aren't built that way. So like we have code gen is a great example. It's like you can generate code with AI, but you can also, like, as a developer, just host your GitHub files and write the actual code and to deploy it. Like with experimentation, A/B testing, we have like manual ways to set that up, but you can also use AI to generate it. And so I think we're thinking a lot about like AI as like a layer and a different way around it, and thinking about like how do we, in that layer, like how do we use like progressive disclosure to like lead a user down a specific road in those. I think I was just actually having like a product crit this week where like one of our designers was working on like an onboarding step for this new app builder we're working on, and he was talking about like, okay, let's have tooltips to show where the things are, and it's like, no, to your point, it's like people don't know how to prompt yet. Like how do we coach people to even that first time experience? Like what's that first time experience like when you go in? Is it pre-populated with something? Can you like afford just like allowing a user to mess around and be like, oh, this is an aha moment where it's like I could write a sentence and get there quicker rather than just starting with something blank? Or is there like a number of buttons you could introduce? I think the big question, like on top of like, does it deserve to be AI, is how do you train a user to be proficient in this and not expect them to be pros from the start? When we see internally that like we weren't pros when we started. Like a lot of our teammates aren't pros yet, and they're like technical folks. So yeah.
Just for quick question, is there a website that has different mock-ups of different AI UI? There was SlideShare where you could see different slide decks. Is there a website that has a collection of AI generated or a UI for AI sort of?
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, so there's a website called Mobbin, Mobbin, that basically like catalogs all relevant apps and websites in the zeitgeist, which is pretty interesting. So that's a good place to go for inspiration if you're looking for patterns.
Yeah.
But then also, I think like there's a number of open source things, like Vercel has a really good open source AI like UI kit with some good stuff to start with. So.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Tyler.
You talked about prototyping being like the thing that you can actually do better with AI, but like what fidelity? Because I've been working with Bolt too, and I upload some screenshots from Figma, and it just does not look the same, right?
Super fair.
But the interactions are there and what it's supposed to function, right? So like, is that what you're giving your developers, or like, how are you translating and what fidelity?
I mean, I think it comes down to the question that Will was talking about, like, what are you trying to communicate? And so I think for us, if it's, you know, I'm encouraging our team to, I just built like a make wireframed template where it's like, this is with Comic Sans and it is ugly and intentionally ugly and it's supposed to be ugly. So I think that's one fidelity layer of just like embracing wireframes as an abstraction can help there to just be like finding the power. I think for us, like we do high fidelity prototypes, but that's because we've invested quite a bit of time into that pattern library. Like that's the thing, like that was an investment that was paying off tenfold for us. Like having like a pattern library that has like, we took Figma MCP, brought it in, we have some technical folks on our team, so just polishing it with Tailwind and just like actually getting into the code to like get it locked in, like that has just like unlocked us drastically when we talk about like high fidelity prototypes. I think one of the like just things you can get in trouble with high fidelity prototypes is like feeling like it's so high fidelity that you have a sunk cost. It's like I've spent hours on this thing but it looks so beautiful that like I can't kill it. And so I think that's like where if you're not sure yet, like then those low fidelity prototypes are amazing because you're just like, this looks like garbage, I'm gonna throw it away. Whereas like if it's beautiful and pretty and like people are like oohing and ahhing over it, it's harder to throw away even if the idea doesn't have legs. So yeah, both.
I would say plus one on that. It's what are you prototyping is the key thing, right? As it's like, you know, I'll send something that looks kind of weird, but it should work just like this, right? And it's like, but obviously make it look nice or whatever, you know. Depends on if you're doing 0 to 1 or if you're working in an existing situation. If you're working in an existing situation, it's a lot simpler to just explain to whoever you're working with, use our stuff, but like it should work like this. And then, you know, as the tools get better and better and as you can import your design system, like this problem will go away.
Also, Figma is still good. Like Figma prototypes, it's like, it's still a great tool. Like
The handoff to make is pretty cool.
Okay, we have time for one more question. One more question.
Yeah, I wanted to zoom in on the like repository for Figma MCP to Cursor. So is that just more connecting like the React design component library that you guys have built to the server, or is it something like kind of different that you've built? Because in my company, I'm at Workday, we use Lovable Cursor, but we're trying to figure out like how we can develop that workflow from like code to Figma. So just wanted to kind of zoom in on like what exactly that repo contains.
yeah, so we have I guess we have like a bunch of patterns, like components, essentially like a component library where we've like taken, you know, built these with Figma. And so they're kind of looking at these and then where it's like, okay, this button, here's a button, here's a variant of this button, here's all the properties that we have. That's the base layer. And because we have that already, we have like cursor rules that's saying like, hey, when you build into this repository, like use the components that are already baked in, don't spin up something from scratch. And so that's like, having that foundation has been like really helpful to just like iterate quickly, and then Cursor's great because you can just look at the code and be like, that's not a component, that's a div. And you can see hallucinations really quickly. But just like investing in those like at atomic level components has been really helpful. I would say like start there and then build out, and then you can have like more complex components with MCP, like grab a frame and then it'll talk to your repo and it'll work, or it's worked well for us.
Awesome. So I had a bit of a hallucination. So we actually do have time for one more question.
Oh, this thing's really cool. I was just going to ask, I know that you spoke about the innovation type workshops and things like that you're running, and I just wanted to ask, you know, with the rise in AI, there's a tendency now, especially with the younger kind of newly graduated people, to just automate towards AI now without actually using that critical and creative thinking. So I was just going to ask like about how do you mitigate that as leaders, and what would be your suggestion? Because I mean, even for me, when I'm stuck on something, I have an automatic tendency to want to, go to the agent and get it to solve the problem for me. So, yeah.
Two things. First thing is something we repeat all the time. It says it on the wall there, no magical thinking. But we also say to each other, like, it's expected to verify, like, and it's expected to use your brain. And it's, we have these tools that can do a bunch of cool stuff, a bunch of things. It's not magic, it's technology capabilities. And if you know what they are and you know how they work, then you can use them to explore the solution space, refine things, push the quality of things, but it's not a replacement for thinking, and it's not a replacement for judgment. And so, yeah, you just have to like remember that. There's definitely like a society level risk of like people forget how to think, so don't. Just remember in your judgment, and then step away from the screen. I love going on walks without my phone, right? And it's like, look at a tree, like, and then you got like, stay in touch with your body and being human, and like that's where inspiration, when you like shower thoughts and stuff, that's really good stuff too. So
Yeah, I think in addition to that, for my workflow, the thing that I've realized is like new grads. I mean, I'm old. You can see the gray in my beard, guys. New grads are like smart. They're really amazing, and I think there's like a tension there of like there are some things that they need to unlearn, and there's things that we need to unlearn as like seasoned veterans. And I think the really beautiful thing that I've seen on my team is just like with new grads, it's like learning just as much from them as like it's like a give and a take. It's like we are teammates. Like help me like develop this skill. Like you're internet native. Like you've known nothing besides the internet. Like how do I see the world in that lens? And how do I coach you to see the world in some of the like, okay, first principles thinking, some of these other critical thinking pieces. But it's like, I think in that lens, there's definitely like such a good tension that like we can learn from new grads that I'm actually like terrified. That's like one of the things with AI that I'm terrified about, is the number of like lower entry level jobs just getting destroyed by it, because the amount of opportunities we have to learn from new grads is just massive. And so, yeah, use them as well. Like learn from them, because they've got it.
Perfect. And I'll answer that question in a bit of a different way with an example. So something that we do a lot in the studio, because we build a lot of websites, is we use AI to scale things that ordinarily would take a long time to do by hand. But a lot of our creative designers, visual designers, art directors, et cetera, they come up with the idea, the inspiration. So for example, right now we're building a website for a space company. And it's a really, really interesting company that's sending mirrors into orbit. This is all public knowledge. And we came up with an entire illustration system for their website that the designer drew by hand. She came up with a concept, all of the branding, and then we used AI to actually scale the illustration system across the entire site, which it's pretty amazing. And when it's live, we'll share the link and you can see the interactions, the stop motion animation. A lot of this has been scaled with AI. The challenge with that is the expectation that comes with it. So explaining to certain clients, whether it be this one or other people, et cetera, that actually things do still take time. There is still a level of craft that even if you are using AI to scale, coming up with a concept and experimenting with the concept and iterating on it, it does still take human brain power. And that is something that even with the best of AI, and we use it all the time at Flexxi, whether it be designing for AI native products or in our workflows, supporting web and marketing teams. It's something that the designers have to come with, and it's something that we have a really high bar when we hire for. So it's about finding that balance, as the other two panelists were saying, and it's also about communicating to stakeholders, whether it be your internal team, your clients, if you're, have a service company, or just generally when someone asks you to produce something like, hey, this is really coming from the human mind. There is no magical thinking, even if we are using this to scale our abilities. Awesome. So with that, we're going to wrap up today so we can leave a few minutes at the end to come talk to us or come talk to each other. I would not be doing my job if I didn't start with some shameless plugs. So once again, I'm Ali Vogel. I run Flexxi Design. We have a specialized AI-driven consulting part of our studio called Flexxi AI. You can look it up, flexxi.ai. And we build 4 AI products, and we also enable different teams, web and marketing teams, through AI workflows. So if that's something you're interested in connecting about on a knowledge level, just to understand more what we're doing, feel free to come talk to me. And with that, I will let Will take the mic.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're hiring. I work here. I like it. We're building AI. You can come hang out.
Good job.
You too.
Yeah, Webflow is, we're going on a big hiring spree as well. So we're hiring 250 roles by January, I think. So if you're interested, yeah, come work at Webflow. And if you want to build a website on top of our platform, that's awesome too. If you want to use a competitor, that's awesome too. Building for websites is great. So thank you.